So here's a video that I couldn't help but to talk about just because I'm actually late to the party in reference to this whole drop gold by Bitcoin narrative that came out from this gentleman right here in his organization. But just as of a couple hours ago on Mornings with Mariah, he was talking about how gold is no longer a part of our monetary paradigm. And so the younger generation don't really view gold as something of value the way they do Bitcoin. And so I'm going to actually play a little bit of what he mentioned here, but then more importantly, highlight something that I think is well worth noting as to the importance of gold and how gold and Bitcoin can coexist together, because ultimately what you're doing with both of those assets there, you're acquiring them by getting rid of dollars, aka Federal Reserve notes. So here, listen to a little bit of this, and then I'll share some more thoughts in a second.
Campaign, this drop gold campaign. That's the message from Grayscale Investments looking to challenge a $1 trillion institution, encouraging people to drop gold from their portfolios in favor of Bitcoin. Now, you're speaking at the SALT conference this week. I know you're going to be communicating this message. Why should I drop gold when people say, look, gold is a real hedge. If I think things are going negative elsewhere, I want to own gold because it's a tangible asset.
So there's $8 trillion of gold held today. What's interesting is that the younger generation of investors, the people who have not yet allocated it to gold, don't view gold the same way that our parents or grandparents did. We grew up.
Okay, here's a good thought. How about you educate the younger generation on monetary literacy and monetary history so that they would know the importance of gold and how gold and silver has been money for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and that ultimately gold is money and everything else is a claim towards that money or a derivative or a spinoff of that money. That will be some education well worth informing our kids, not necessarily telling them that gold is not a part of our monetary system anymore in a sense, and our parents used to use it as money, because it's a anti-fiat currency depreciation of your wealth value transfer mechanism that supersedes the use of fiat currencies. But I'll let him talk some more.
After the gold standard. So the biggest buyers of gold, the largest increase in buyers of gold right now are central banks. So there's this disconnect between gold bugs saying, okay, you invest in gold because you take issue with central banker fiscal monetary policy decisions, yet they're the ones who are buying all the gold. So if you...
All right, so once again, why are all the central banks buying all the gold when they're the ones that took it out of circulation or was a part of the reason why it was removed from our monetary paradigm as being utilized as money and been forced to be known as a commodity, of course, after Richard Nixon did what he did. But yet, why not educate people on that unless you are only interested in pumping the whole Bitcoin narrative, of which, once again, Bitcoin and gold can go hand in hand, because ultimately you're using those in anticipation of no longer needing to use Federal Reserve notes as well as other currencies. So I'll continue on.
Do you want to make an investment that'll perform well when things don't go well? Why are you aligning yourself with China and Russia and all of these countries that are amassing all the gold?
But isn't that the reason that you want to own gold? Because central banks are not going to sell it so easily, and then it's going to be stable. So if a market is plummeting in terms of stocks, don't I want to go to something that's real tangible that I know is not going to have that kind of volatility?
Well, ultimately, the way that gold will have meaningful value is if the U.S. dollar declines in value. So essentially,
you're not expecting that.
Well, no, and so why bet against the U.S.? So with Bitcoin.
All right, so that's where I have to draw the line. That's where I have to stop it. So as you guys can see, I'm putting this graph up here on the screen here. So here you have what this gentleman is maybe not wanting to refer to, or just utilize as a historical aspect of where the current Federal Reserve note in reference to purchasing power stands as of now. So from this graph here, you see that since the formation of the Federal Reserve in 1913 up until this current time frame now, the dollar, the Federal Reserve note, has lost basically all of its purchasing power in reference to what it could purchase when the Federal Reserve Bank initially started. And then if you want to go even deeper, if you actually look at the actual price of gold in paper terms, as far as how many pieces of paper it takes to acquire 1 ounce, if you go to the very top of this graph here in 1913, 1 ounce of gold, or a $20 piece, was roughly 20 pieces of paper. And so, of course, as we go to the right of this chart here and we scroll further down, we see how the purchasing power of the Federal Reserve note has diminished. But what that has done is led to a higher cost or price in paper terms in the actual metal. And so from 20 pieces of paper in 1913 to roughly 40 pieces of paper where the central bank and the Federal Reserve has it locked at now on their balance sheets, as that every ounce of gold right now is priced at $40, $42 or so dollars on their balance sheet of supposedly of the 8,000 tons they're holding, which has no correlation to the actual price now. If I wanted to go to the store and actually purchase an ounce, I would have to spend $12.80 plus the premium, which would probably be well over 1,300 pieces of paper. And so this guy here to say that there will be no devaluing or no less value of the dollar and he wouldn't bet against the dollar anytime soon is, to me, a bunch of hogwash. And so this whole dropping gold for Bitcoin definitely doesn't fly, because if gold is money, if he was able to just say that, then he would say that it'd be easier to get out of the dollar for Bitcoin if that was something you want to do. But nowadays, because of all the technology and the usage of this whole blockchain cryptocurrency space, you don't necessarily have to have Bitcoin in and of itself. You can have other alternatives in coins and tokens or whatever that are able to be transferred for physical gold as well as silver and things of that nature. So the fact that this gentleman here talks about the value of dollar, he wouldn't bet against it, lets me know that this gentleman here has clearly a Bitcoin pumping type of scheme behind it, or whatever he's up to. But yet I had to definitely comment on this, because once again, in getting gold or Bitcoin, what you're doing ultimately is you're getting rid of the Federal Reserve notes, which is what's here on the screen, and why this gentleman here, I think, should be a little bit more honest and upfront. But once again, that's just me. But I'm curious to find out what you think, because as we can see, the purchasing power of the Federal Reserve note has gone down. Therefore, the price of Bitcoin and gold will go up automatically, just because people will be running from pieces of paper and digits that's centrally controlled by central banks and manipulated by government. So other than that, just thought I would share this quick thought. Let me know your thoughts down below. More important, if you find this informative, don't be afraid to share it. Other than that, see you later.